Welcome to Body Energetics Podcast, evidence-based spirituality to get happy, healthy, and hot. I'm Lauren Cercione, a 23-year fitness pro, and this podcast is dedicated to the anxiously attached boss babe who tends to binge eat and ghost her workouts. I've had 3 major health crises, and each time I learned something new about the mind-body connection. In this podcast, I share with you how I reconnected to my inner child parts to stop sabotaging and ghosting habits and tap into my intuition using energy and universal law. If you're ready to start your hero's journey using habit change to meet your shadow, go to bodyenergetics.com/games to join the Body Energetics community of gamified coaching, where you get all my tools to reconnect your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual bodies and win personalized coaching. That's bodyenergetics.com/games. Welcome to an episode of Body Energetics Podcast, evidence-based spirituality to get happy, healthy, and hot. I'm very excited to introduce someone to you. She is the reason we are doing this podcast again. I'm not even kidding. She came to the office in August and we pulled out my archives from Love is a Verb podcast, and we talked about my why behind sharing information the way I do about diet and exercise. And she was like, you have to do this. You have to do this.
100%.
You have to do this.
100%.
So she triggered me. And then I was like, can I? Like, do I have anything significant to say? And then I actually didn't even have any ideas to talk about. I think I totally got blocked. So I had a lot of work to do from August. But since I committed to you that I said, okay, I'm going to do this and you're going to come on and you're going to do it too, right. I'll have it ready in December. I got my shit together in December of the foundational episodes so that you can refer back to something of a concept so that you have the foundational level information. So I don't have to re-explain everything on each podcast. So I send her a text and I'm like, I got that done. I'm going to lay the foundation, then I'll let you know when you can come on. So now we're all the way in March.
Yay. So we're ready.
We're ready.
Let's go.
Yeah. So thank you so much, because you would, really. We would not be having this information out again if you hadn't been like, you really need to do this.
Yeah. I mean, you're creating a safe space for anyone to learn and to respect their body. And I'm all for that.
Yeah.
So let's, give everyone a chance to have a little bit of exposure to your wisdom. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. And we met at the gym, at the locker room. We've done a couple of workouts together, and then we gone out to dinner. And when we had a deep and meaningful conversation, we realized how much we had in common. And you created a safe space with your education to allow me to express my beliefs and my fears about the powers.
Yes.
Okay. So with that, her formal introduction, everyone, Dr. Elle Manoukian, a doctor of public health with infectious disease specialty from Walden University. She has a bachelor's in environmental occupational health from California State University, Northridge, and a master's in occupational health and safety from Columbia Southern University. She has over 14 years of health and safety experience working in both public, private, and government sector, providing direction and leadership. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
In today's episode, we are going to be talking about the importance of drinking water. And I think that what she's going to share with you is going to blow your mind. And I think this is such a good topic for us to understand, because when you get past the yo-yo dieting and the binge phases and ghosting your workouts, like any sabotaging behaviors, once you get past the idea that you have to have a perfect workout plan or a perfect diet, and you start to realize that there's just some essential things of getting sleep, getting protein, getting water, strength training, doing meditation or mindfulness work. If you do those things, eventually they're just going to accumulate and you're going to be in the body of your dreams because you're actually treating it with so much care and respect. So when you hear people talk about drinking water and you're like, oh, like I don't want to be bothered having to pee. Like that's like the big thing. I don't want to drink that much water, like, because I have to pee. So let's really dive into this, because this is one of those big movers. So what were they? They were sleep, water, strength training, protein, fibrous vegetables. It's usually like if you get somebody who's telling you what are your basic things you should be doing, this is one out of those 5 basic things. So let's dive in.
Yeah. So I'm all about leveling up. Okay.
Mhm.
So when you are actually making sure that your body gets everything it needs, you're going to be running more efficiently, just like any machine. So you got to think of the body in that
Yes.
way. So when we talk about hydration, your body is 60 to 70% water. And there's so many different systems that require water. So for example, when we talk about hydration, when you're drinking water, it keeps your body temperature stable. And you really need that to be true all the time. So drinking water definitely helps with that. That's what we talk about when we say hydration. And then we also talk about cell function. So your cells need water so that they're actually taking in nutrients and also excreting waste. So we want that system to continue happening. So when people are dehydrated, they're not really excreting the toxins. And unfortunately, we live in a world now where there's so many chemicals in our foods. There's chemical processes that are related to our food. Even the water bottle that you get has BPA in it, which is a plastic hardener, which makes your water bottle look nice and shiny. But unfortunately, that goes in your water and you ingest that. And that's an endocrine disruptor. So it messes with your hormones.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're trying to do, of course, is take in as much clean water as we can. The other thing water helps with is digestion. So it's very essential to be able to break down the foods that we eat, and water really helps in that process. But you're supposed to have water after, so not during your meal.
Oh.
And the reason for that is that it dilutes your pH in your stomach. So we want our stomach acid to go in there nice and strong and break things down.
Oh,
it also helps to break down bad things. For example, we've all eaten at a restaurant where all of a sudden our stomach did not feel good. If you have stronger stomach acid, it will break down any bacteria or virus, or sometimes even a parasite that you've ingested. That strong stomach acid is necessary. But if you constantly are drinking something with your meals, you're diluting that pH.
Okay.
So that digestion is not happening correctly.
Okay, so wait. So two things.
Yes.
One thing is you reminded me of something with Dr. Bruce Lipton. So you have to go back to Biology of Belief episode. He talked about how your cells are a microcosm of the macrocosm of your body.
Absolutely.
And they all have the same functions of all of our body parts. So when you were talking about excreting waste, I'm like, oh, it's the P system of your cells.
Yes.
So it's like, there's so many, and the reason why stuff like that stands out to me is because as above, so below, as within, so without. So if you really start to see things in patterns, you'll be able to unlock your behaviors that are causing problems in your body, but also to have this like greater understanding of how the mechanism of your body works.
Right.
That it is, your cells do need essentially all the things that we think we need to get to our aesthetic, because they're having the same experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Biology of Belief, go back to that episode if you want to drill into that a little bit more about your cells. And then the other thing that you said, which is like, I'm like, uh-oh, like, how am I doing this? I have my gallon of water that I refill in the fridge. And then, because I don't put my mouth on it to get it full of bacteria. And then I pour it into my cup. Not a Stanley cup, it's a Costco cup.
Oh my gosh, with the Stanley cup.
Yeah, with the Stanley cup. I didn't buy one. I was like, what is this? And then I realized, I'm like, oh,
there's a whole cult following. Don't come after me.
I basically have one. Yeah, I'm like, yeah. So if I'm drinking like essentially all day to get that gallon in,
right,
how is that going to affect actually eating? Like, should I stop drinking? Like literally, like, should I stop drinking an hour before I eat to like let the stomach acid build up?
Right. So just give a little bit of space. Even 15 minutes is more than enough. It doesn't have to be just a lot of times. It's funny when we go to a restaurant, the first thing they ask you is like, what do you want to drink? And I'm just like, wait, let's talk about the food.
You're out of order.
Also, I'm like, that's not the right thing to ask. But we've become like, that's kind of normal to us that you're going to drink something with your food. You can wait to do that at the end once you've kind of started the digestion process. Yeah.
Okay.
And then if you're really thirsty, you should kind of look at how your thirst looks like in the day, because you should be hydrating throughout the day. Small sips. You don't have to like chug water. It will make you nauseous. You know, so let's be careful with that.
Me and Lauren from the gym, when we're send pictures that we're just like this and doing what we're doing. Just like sipping, whatever it is that we're doing, just constantly sipping to get that gallon in.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's so, so important. And then as you're working out and walking around and just in life in general, you want to lubricate your joints, and water does that because water is actually surrounding your joints.
Yeah.
So not drinking enough water is going to make you feel like you have arthritis, and it's going to make you feel kind of like achy. And people complain about that. Same with your kidneys, by the way. If you're feeling lower back pain and you feel achy, you really want to get that full testing done to make sure, see your healthcare provider, do your annual labs. I'm a huge advocate of that. You must have a doctor that you respect, that listens to you. I really think you should try out doctors till you find one you love. Someone who listens, understands, and any complaint you have, like, says, okay, that's valid. Let's figure out why you feel that way. Because I see so many people get discouraged and turned away. They're like, I told my doctor that I have pain in my lower back. And then lo and behold, we do labs and they have kidney issues. Like, that's important. We don't want you on dialysis. You know, you want to prevent those things. And it comes up when you do your lab. Nurses are such amazing advocates. Like, I've worked with nurses for years now, and they listen. They go back, and like, nurse practitioners are amazing. Some of the PAs are amazing. They do great work where they'll say, let me get back to you. Like, I love a doctor who says, let me get back to you. Let me check on that for you. We shouldn't assume that everybody knows everything, but you also need to see someone's history. So like, is this genetic for you? We need to go into all of that. So just to kind of bring that back, you are your best advocate. And I always want to preach that as much as possible, because I want people to stand up for their health. We get one life to live. You've got one body, you better respect it. It's your temple. So we want to go morning, noon, and night. We want to be acting on our own belief and system to like make sure that we're doing the best we can for ourselves. Take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself. Oh my gosh. Okay. So then continuing. So how much water, I guess the gallon, okay? Like how much are we allowed to drink? Are we supposed to drink?
And then I just want to add to that, your skin will look a lot better when you drink the right amount of water. You won't look so dry. Your lips will be much more moisturized. And then the long-term effect, which they found out through a research through the NIH organization, which is that people actually develop chronic diseases, or more likely to develop chronic diseases, heart disease, diabetes, lung disease, and dementia, because they're dehydrated. So this was funded and reviewed and peer-reviewed. And the doctor, her name is Dr. Natalia Dimitrieva, and her work is very well publicized. So there's like, one of the studies she did was a group of elderly people, and they just continued to normally hydrate them, not overhydrate, just normally hydrate. And they were remembering things that they hadn't before.
Oh my God.
Because your brain is actually a fluid electrical system, which requires water to charge. So that having water in your brain, which is normal, there's a normal amount, it just helps you fire correctly. So that way you're making those synapses, those like connections between one and the other. So it's really important to stay hydrated. That's my point.
So you said electric. So that's why electrolytes. Is that the same?
That's a different system. Okay. And we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. So your question was, how much should we drink?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's probably the question I get most frequently. It really depends on your activity level. Like, if you're at the gym, you're working out, you're going to be able to drink a little bit more. If you're someone who's outside working and it's really hot, you're going to need to drink more than usual. So how do we determine that? Is the easiest thing to do is go to the bathroom and look in the toilet.
Oh, yeah.
Because if your urine is orange or amber or dark yellow, you are dehydrated. And if you look, sometimes people will see that their urine is quite blurry. That's your kidneys filtering all that stuff out. That's the system.
So like, if it's blurry, like it just processed something pretty heavy duty. Because it's not, I've seen my urine be blurry, but not like all the time.
And it's important, again, that when you do your annual physical, that you also do a urine test. We want to know if you're breaking down protein. You shouldn't be. We want to know that, you don't have an ongoing infection, which happens a lot to women. It is so normal to have a urinary tract infection. And we can do a whole episode on how to make that not happen for you. And I'm very tired of certain providers being like, that's bad. Why do you have that? Like, no, it happens. It's normal. We need to
Mhm.
figure out how to get over that stigma, I want to say.
Mhm.
There's a little bit
Mhm.
of like negative stigma associated with that. And then the other thing is that women can drink up to like 9 glasses of water and men
Mhm.
up to 13. So we do talk about like a liter a day. That depends on your body. So like for someone that has kidney disease, we may not, depending on what kind of kidney disease they have, if they're going through dialysis, they might not need all that water. Or someone who's diabetic might drink a lot of water because they feel constant thirst. So again, you need to talk to your healthcare provider to make sure you're drinking enough, but
Mhm.
your urine should look really light yellow.
Okay.
So if you look in the toilet, really light yellow is where we want to go. Now,
Uh-huh.
sometimes people would be like, my urine is like bright yellow, like neon
Neon.
highlighter
It's
yellow.
not just vitamins.
Yes, that is your vitamin. That is not something your body can like produce, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
any sort of orange, amber color, if you really see like a red tint, it's really important to speak to your healthcare provider. A urinary tract infection can cause a little bit of bleeding
Yeah.
down there, so it's really important. And this is true for men and women that get an infection. You might see some blood.
Mhm.
So if you see some sort of color that doesn't look right, I like to say, see something, say something. Like, go to your doctor. Don't wait around because infections can actually continue to move up in the body.
Oh my
So they
God.
start one place, they move because bacteria love to travel, and those guys are fast. It doesn't take long. You know,
Uh-huh.
there's a study done where it shows that most people that end up in the hospital, they don't die because of surgery, they die because of an infection. Those bacteria, they're really strong. They're
Uh-huh.
really good at what they do, and we seem to be having trouble keeping up with creating antibiotics
Mhm.
that destroy them. So
Yeah.
you need to speak up sooner rather than later.
Wow.
So your
Mhm.
urine in the toilet needs to look really light yellow.
Okay. Like a shimmery. Good. No, that's my pee. That's a
Drink
supplement.
You don't have to just drink water. You can also eat your water. You can have cucumbers and watermelon, and a lot of your veggies already have water in them.
Mhm.
So having a salad is actually really helpful and hydrating.
Mhm.
And like people like my mom, for example, she can't drink a lot of water. She'll get nauseous because she tries to like drink it all in one shot. Like,
Mhm.
don't do that. Like, just sip your water throughout the day,
Yeah.
so that you're slowly absorbing it and you're using it.
Mhm.
I also get something else that people say, like, oh, my ankles are swollen. Like, I don't want to drink any more water. And that is true, except it's not true. Yes, you have water in your ankles, but that's because you're actually dehydrated. So that's a sign of dehydration.
How does swelling mean
Yeah.
dehydration?
So if you have swelling in your ankles, your body's actually just trying to hold on to water.
Oh.
It's just a storage area, and because of gravity, it tends to go down.
Oh, that makes like so much sense when you say it. You're like, oh, why didn't I think of that? Duh. Like,
So we want you obviously to put some of your feet up. We want you to drink water and
Mhm.
start really detoxing, just
Mhm.
flush stuff out. You
Mhm.
really need to do that
Mhm.
daily. So I encourage people, again, talk to your doctor, figure out how much you need. Everybody's a little different depending on their medical history, but for most people, 7 to 9 glasses of water, totally
That's
great.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put stuff in it if you get bored,
Yeah.
put lemon in it. Lemon's
Yeah.
a great detoxifier.
Yeah. Yeah.
A little bit of lemon juice, drink a straw, don't ruin the beautiful enamel on your teeth.
Mhm. Mhm. I had like a couple days, like in my whole life that I can remember, a couple times where I drank 2 gallons of water because I was that thirsty.
Yeah.
And there really wasn't anything, like thinking back, like there really, like one of them happened here at the office where it was like, I got through my gallon like by 2 and I was still thirsty. And I was like, this is weird, but I can't think if like I had a hard workout the day before or anything of like what would trigger that amount of thirst.
So listen to your body. It could be that you ate something really salty and your body's trying to remove the salt by attaching it to the water molecules so you can push it out a little easier. So like Chinese food does that to me. I think every time I have Chinese food, and I love Chinese food, don't get me wrong, like I'm all about the dumplings.
Yes.
But I notice that I will hold a little bit more water and I will be very, very thirsty.
Okay.
So it could be something we ate. It could also be that your body's tired and you did have a good workout and it's trying to really replenish those muscles. So when you drink water, you look kind of hydrated and plump.
Yeah.
But your muscles need that. They need it to
free
kind of
fillers.
repair.
Free fillers.
Totally.
Free fillers.
Totally.
Yeah.
And they have pictures. You can Google this. You can look at people that are dehydrated and not. And it's like the same person like 3 weeks before.
I remember like
3 weeks
15 years ago, there was
great.
like the 30-day water challenge.
Right.
Like, I remember that was like, I mean, it probably is still going on right now, but like, there was like things where like they would blog on YouTube their experience, and they would take a picture every single day,
And they look
and they
good.
would get younger and younger and younger. Yeah, like
It's free.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so then back to the electrolytes thing, because when you said
Yes.
electric circuitry, I was like, is that the same thing? And you said no. So what is well, well, and I guess the reason why I was asking about like how much water you should drink and if the gallon's okay, like, do you run risks if you drink too much?
Yes. So we didn't know that water has a toxic dose until like 2007.
Until the radio show killed somebody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her name was Jennifer Strange. She had 3 kids. It was a radio show in Sacramento, and the show was about a contest where a whole bunch of moms participated, and they were trying to win a Nintendo Wii for their kid. Nintendo Wii had just come out. So the contest was called Hold Your Wii for a Wii.
Oh,
right. So she won. She drank as much water as she could, and then she held her Wii. And what happens when you drink a lot of water, and again, we've learned now that water has a toxic dose, that you can overhydrate. It will cause problems with the sodium and the chloride and the amount of water, like how that goes through. We need it to kind of stay balanced. You can over dilute yourself, basically. So what happens when you do that is confusion. It can lead to seizure and a coma and death.
wow.
So it is possible to overhydrate. And for most chemicals and medicines, we look at finding what we call an LD50, a lethal dose in 50% of the population that you test. So like we do a lot of studies on rats, right?
I was saying, wait a minute.
We figure out, yeah, we don't kill people. We test on animals, unfortunately, and rats are a very similar internal structure. They are basically similar to how we are. So we use them as kind of unfortunately, the guinea pigs, right?
Yeah.
So many chemicals and medicines out there, we test to see the lethal dose. Water was not one of them. So we didn't really know exactly the number. And unfortunately for her, and she was awarded a pretty large settlement, which I don't think is even fair, because this contest should have never happened. As someone in healthcare, I'm like, why would you do that? Didn't you guys want to run this? It sounds like it's harmless, but it's not. It's not.
Goofy.
We never want to do something like that to kind of push the boundaries of somebody. I really just think they should have just invited them over and had them talk about their kids and then given them all the Nintendo Wii. Like, I think that would have been so much better. So it's important for you to talk to your doctor and figure out if your pee is running super clear in the toilet, like you can't even tell that your urine was there, you are overhydrating. We need some of that system to go through, right? So we don't want to get to that point. And I know this is hard for like athletes and people that are like training really hard at the gym, but just pay attention. Your body really likes things to be very normally boring. Like the same amount of water comes in, the same amount of protein. That's how all the systems start to lessen.
Nobody wants to do that. They want a challenge.
It's so hard. Yeah, it's so
your
hard.
lifestyle should be boring for your body.
Your consistency is gonna show up for you in the largest way. So it's almost like difficult to do. Like once you get into a routine, your body likes that. Your body wants the same amount of water coming in. The day that you don't drink that amount, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna start to feel like you're not operating on all cylinders. And the clarity of your brain is so different when you're hydrated. It's worth it. So it's dangerous to do those kinds of things, but it has to be, again, knowingly and cautiously, you know, and I don't advocate for doing anything different. You've got to really take care of yourself. We only get one body.
So we have to circle back to electrolytes.
Oh, yes.
So we mentioned electricity, but you're saying it's 2 different things.
Yes. So we were talking about the electrical current of the brain and needing water to kind of create that system.
Conduction.
Yeah, but we're going to really talk about electrolytes. So water by itself is just hydrogen and oxygen. It doesn't actually have electrolytes in it. But what we like to do is we like to drink something with electrolytes. So what are electrolytes? So when we're talking about electrolytes, we're talking about potassium, sodium, we're talking about chloride, calcium, and magnesium. And the way that I like to integrate that is to get a powder and add that to water. And that helps. So electrolytes help water go into the cells easier.
Got it.
It's like almost like you open the door and then they can get in
They
a
go-
little bit smoother.
I used this analogy the other day.
And so a lot of times people complain that they drink a lot of water, but they just don't feel like anything's really changed for them. And that's because your water didn't have any electrolytes in it. And this is very true of people who are like really bad migraine sufferers. Again, we're going to the brain and you don't have enough water. You also need magnesium, which is very helpful for people with migraines, for example. And we have that in an electrolyte. So if you're drinking electrolyte water, you're less likely to get migraines. We know this. Lots of studies. You can look at that. So electrolytes are like kind of that channel that open that door that let the water comfortably go in. So then you're not like feeling like you're just a water balloon.
Yeah.
For lack of a better word, walking around like I've got a lot of water in me.
I have electrolyte powder here. I just don't like.
And try to get one without sugar. Like try to get something without, because we don't want to add sugar to anything, honestly. Try to get something as natural as possible. Or coconut water if you like that, if you can tolerate it, or just eat your fruits and veggies. There's lots of that already in there.
Like, imagine that.
Veggies already have it.
If we just ate actual food.
Yeah, if you just ate food with no other ingredients, apples, bananas, all your vegetables as snacks, you would just be doing your body such a service because it has everything in there already. Yeah. And if you grow your own food, oh my gosh, you're going to get so much more nutrients out of it, because the stuff at the store has just been so overly farmed and that soil is depleted of those minerals, which are electrolytes and other minerals that you need, like vitamins.
And Roundup is on it.
Oh yes. Unfortunately, we can do a whole episode on that.
I know. See, but I like you here because you keep me focused on the positive. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I've heard, this is so funny. I was in Bali when I was in my 20s and I was making a clothing line. I got ripped off for $10,000. Cut to, at that time, I was like just dabbling in some of like the mind body space of like changing how you eat. And I got into this conversation with some people where they were like adamantly cold water because it raises your metabolism, adamantly hot water because it doesn't make your metabolism work as hard and you're not creating so much trauma in your body. And I'm like, the fitness space says cold water to burn more fat. So I'm going to go do that.
Oh my gosh. You bring up such an important point, is like, what temperature should you be drinking your water at? Okay. So Chinese medicine, that's been around for much longer than modern medicine, always talks about drinking warm to hot water. Okay. So let me give you a whole story and that'll bring it all together. It's a really hot day. You're outside, you're hanging out, you're having a barbecue. It's so hot, you're sweating. You're going to drink ice cold water.
Yeah.
That just makes sense. So you drink your ice cold water and that water goes down to your stomach. So let me ask you a question. If you just do like this, if you just shake back and forth, what do you hear?
Slosh.
Yeah, you hear the water just like going back and forth. It's just sitting there. Why is it not
the cold one?
Yeah, your ice cold water is just sitting there. Why is it not being absorbed by your body? What is your body doing? Your body is very smart. Okay?
It's like a cold shower. Is it like doing this?
Like it's like, okay, I need to warm this water up to my body temperature to absorb it.
Oh, well, that's probably why in the fitness space they say to do cold, because like your body's like
it's
burning more calories.
Burn more calories to heat it up.
Yeah.
So yes, both are true.
Both are true.
Both are true. So yeah, it takes more energy to warm something up to your body temperature to be able to absorb it. Now, if you're outside and you're playing and it's hot and you're sweating, am I going to give you ice cold water to hydrate you faster? No, I'm going to give you room temperature water. We do this all the time. We give people ice cold water, and it's important because it leads to heat exhaustion, which can lead to heat stroke.
Yeah.
People die from heat stroke.
Yeah.
So it starts off as a cramp, and then it's like headache, nausea, then they start to go in and out. And that's when you're going to heat exhaustion.
Yeah.
And then it's really hard to hydrate somebody once they're at that stage, you've got to call 911. You've got to IV that person to hydrate them faster.
Wow.
And by the way, we don't put those saline IV banana bags. We don't put any of those iced. You never see that happen either.
So true. Yeah.
We're trying to keep it warm enough that it's easy for your body to deal with, to absorb.
Wow.
So I want to say both are true.
I'm so surprised of like the the problem that could occur.
It's gentler on your stomach though, to do the warm and hot. It's gentler.
I used to fill my cup with ice and then put my water in, but honestly, like I stopped because because I like drink so much that I'd give myself a brain freeze, but also like my teeth are sensitive.
And your body's like, hold up, too cold.
Yeah, my teeth would hurt. And I was like, well, I'm not going to have ice anymore then. Like, so I just, and I was like, well, maybe there's something I felt kind of good that I was like following a more ancient practice,
right?
But it was purely because it was just uncomfortable to drink it cold. Like, but it worked out. That's good.
Your body was telling you.
That's so interesting. Yeah. We just like, we're just so removed from our bodies that
we just need to listen.
Yeah.
Your body will tell you what it likes and what it doesn't like. And sometimes you have to coach it into things. Like me, I've really had to coach myself to drinking the right amount of water. It never came naturally to me. I was one of those people, like the second I had a little more, I was like, I don't want this. But you just slowly do it. You slowly kind of integrate these good habits, and every day a little bit better. You do the same thing, you practice, and you get better. You honestly get better.
Yes.
And it takes time, and be patient with yourself. People just need to come from a place of love. Don't beat yourself up if you can't do all these things that we talk about. Do it slow and steady, wins the race.
It all goes back to attachment theory. Anything that we set our goal on, we're avoidant to it as the angry teenager, or and we want to be rebellious and nobody tells me what to do, or we're anxiously attached to it and we're needing that thing to like put a stamp of approval. And when it comes to anything with body and self-care, if we're not comfortable with ourselves, we're going to make the aesthetic the reason to feel love. And so then all the steps in between get so distorted. Like they become like, water can become abusive because you're berating yourself for not drinking water right. Like we have such a good a knack for ruining for using the things that are healthy against us when we get when we don't realize that it's about loving ourselves and listening to ourselves.
And the self-talk, like you talk to yourself more than you talk to anybody. Please talk to yourself like a friend.
Yeah.
Like when you're having that moment where you didn't do the thing that you meant to do, and you talk to yourself like you would a friend. Like I would tell a friend, like, it's okay. Just try a little bit more in a different way. It's okay that you didn't do it today. Do it tomorrow. Like, don't beat yourself up about things. It's just not the way that you're gonna want to do it then. You know? So, and give yourself grace. Like, it's okay. We don't all do 110% every single day. And that's to be expected. You're human. You're a body. With like us women, for example, we're not even the same hormonal structure every day in the 30 days, 31 days of that month.
Who are you today?
You know, so it's not fair to judge yourself based on a standard that doesn't even apply every single day. I'm so sorry. Like, it's not fair. Right. So, and we're such beautiful creatures as people, whatever gender you are, like you just have to give yourself that grace.
That was the soundbite. That was really good. Moving on. So I got my gallon to not have bacteria growing in it. I pour it into my other cup. I wash that cup every few days in the dishwasher.
Love the dishwasher, by the way.
Yeah.
So much stuff.
And then
that water is hotter than what you're going to do.
With your hands. Yeah.
For sure.
And then we've got, you know, like electrolyte bottled water back here. And I've definitely have gone so far into like, I have to have it in glass, but you kind of just like either get it out of the faucet or out of something plastic. So how are we, filtered. Like how are we navigating?
It's so hard. This is probably one of the biggest issues we have with water. We literally still have the Flint, Michigan water crisis happening, even though we live in America.
Let's recap that.
Unbelievable.
Tell us again what's happening in Flint, because I remember it at the time, but not
there's actually in the piping, it's actually so dirty that people are getting sick, and the children that are getting sick, and they're absorbing all of these chemicals, and the county and the state has actually asked for additional help from the government to be able to redo the plumbing. This plumbing has been there forever, and they finally tested the water and it showed that it was actually making people sick. Whether it was cancer, people were, getting sicker and sicker, and it's really just the water. Like, we need to advocate
and they're
for
still
clean
not
water, and it still hasn't been fully remedied. So they were shipping water and
clowns.
water bottles.
Clowns are running this country.
You know, and it's everyone deserves to have clean water. Like, I feel like that's an ultimate right to everyone to have clean water where they're not worried about chemicals in it. And a lot of us get our water from bottled water. And some bottled water has BPA in that plastic. We talked about that, right?
But
And
didn't
that's the
they take that
hard
away? But they have a
stuff.
different name for it that's just as bad. But they're like, well, it's not the BPA this, it's BPA that.
Yeah. So what you preferably glass. That's the way to go. If you can't do that, get a filter system for your house so you can filter the chemicals that are coming in from the pipe, and then also test your water. Use a zero water filter and see how many actual particles are in there. Make sure that it's clean, and then read your local water report. I know it's so boring, but you deserve the right to know what's in your water
that you're washing yourself with, that you're gargling with.
Yes, a lot of people will buy like a filter because when you have hard water coming into your house, your hair doesn't look great, your skin doesn't look great, right? You're bathing in this stuff. So what's hard water?
What is hard water?
Well, you've got all the minerals in there. You know, it's some of them are good, but most of them are not because it's old piping that's been here forever. And depending on where you live, I don't know where you live that you're watching this podcast, right? It depends on what the piping looks like. It could have been there for years. Who knows what's in those pipes? So you do
posted some of that stuff on your stories.
Water, yes,
it's really gross.
I do. I really want people to drink clean water if they can. So try to filter the water in your house. I think that's the best and safest thing that you can do. Yeah. And then try to buy bottled water that's BPA free. Do not ever leave your BPA'd water bottles in your car.
Heat.
Yeah, heat is just going to make that go right into the water, and now you're ingesting that. The issue with BPA is that it's an endocrine disruptor. It changes your hormones. If you're trying to conceive, if you're trying to just feel like you have less toxin overload, you need to not be ingesting chemicals. And unfortunately, because of our food, water, I mean, we're kind of absorbing it all the time. So unless you're filtering your water, you're not filtering it out. Let me put it that way. So you have to actively be doing that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I got the fridge water.
Yeah.
With the filter. That's fine.
Totally.
That's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
At least I have that. No glass yet.
Yeah. It's okay. I mean, if you have the ability to filter the water in the home, I think that's the best. There's really great filtration systems that people can add to their house, even to the water that you're using for your shower, because it can be a full house system and you're going to reap those benefits. For sure. It'll taste better too.
We just want to be young.
Oh, don't we all?
We want to be, speaking, I was going to say, we want to be young and glamorous. Can you tell us a little bit about your glamour?
The makeup that I'm wearing today is from a line called Naturally Glamorous, non-toxic, chemical-free makeup.
Who makes it?
Oh, me.
Do you see this? Do you see this? Do you see the face?
It's just nice to have less stuff, chemicals like in your makeup, because I love makeup. And ever since I was like 13 going to middle school, I was so into like putting different colors on my eyes and just like playing with it. And then I would like smell it and I'd be like, this smells kind of weird, like very chemically, you know? And you're thinking about, as when you're a kid, you're just like, oh, but it's fun. Like who cares, right? This can't hurt me. And then later as an adult, you study this stuff and you're like, why are there so many chemicals in my makeup? And why are the chemicals not listed like on the actual package, you know? And a lot of makeup brands don't list all their chemicals because they don't really want you to know that you're putting that onto your skin. And by the way, your skin is your largest organ. Everything you put on your skin absorbs goes into your bloodstream, and we can test for it. So if you're really thinking about this, you can do blood work and you can test all the different chemicals that are in your body that you need to detox. So I created this line really because I thought we deserve to have clean makeup, and it can look good. It doesn't have to be like flaky or dry. So all the eyeshadows and the blushes, they don't have any talc in it. Paraben free, phthalate free, sulfate free. And so it's just nice to have clean beauty. And I think we're going to see more of that. That's going to be a thing. Yeah. We don't buy stuff with so many chemicals. We're going to say, no, we want clean products out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause it's like we've been conditioned to think like, well, it's just a little bit, like we all kind of know, but we're like, oh, it's just a little bit here and there, here and there. But if your here and there is on every avenue of life,
Right.
your
Like
toxic
you're wearing it
overload.
every day.
Yeah.
Your sunscreen that has, you know, different chemicals in it to protect you from the sun might actually be doing more harm.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to buy non-toxic beauty. Absolutely.
Yeah. Non-toxic beauty. Okay. Well, we'll put that in the links. Before we head off, how do people reach out to you if they like want to connect or buy your makeup?
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram. Sunrise22heart is my Instagram handle. I post health tips every day. I'm all about hacking your health. And I like easy tidbits. So I post pictures and I just give little helpful advice. And sometimes there'll be things that I rant about. Like, for example, Panera has this iced tea, lemonade iced tea that has a crazy amount of caffeine in it. And a young college kid died because of that. And it's just so unfortunate. So I post things where I'm like, please don't eat this or drink this. This is gonna, you know, this is not safe. And until they make actual laws about the amount of caffeine you can put in a drink, I just like to educate people. So you can follow me on Sunrise22heart on Instagram if you just want to have little daily tidbits.
Yeah. My face got all because I was like, I heard something else about Panera that I thought you were going to say just about like their nutrition content.
Oh yeah.
But no, so somebody passed away from caffeine.
It was lemonade, by the way. It was lemonade. So like the 18-year-old that ingested it, she never thought like that was going to do anything to her. You wouldn't associate lemonade with having a caffeine content. And she got the largest drink because she was thirsty. It was hot. She just, and that was it.
Oh my God, that's so sad.
Very unfortunate.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge advocate of health and safety for people. And I want to educate.
Yeah.
So thank you for giving me the chance to do that today.
Thank you. Thank you for encouraging me to podcast again.
Of course. So much fun.
Thank you for listening to the show. Please let me know how it landed for you by leaving a rating and review on the podcast player you're using or the YouTube comments. Join bodyenergetics.com/games for gamified coaching, in addition to all my tools for diet, exercise, mindfulness, and emotional regulation.